Mic check. Mic check. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very important announcement. From the Woolworth sit-ins in 1960 to the March on Washington in 1963 to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, justice or else. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the Blue and Gold Marching Machine as we stand with our brothers and sisters from Howard University, and as we stand for a better future. All lives matter.
My parents shared not only an improbable love, they shared an abiding faith in the possibilities of this nation.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please stand with me in honoring all historical black colleges and universities.
To go around the world 128 times at 17,500 miles per hour aboard the Rolls-Royce of spaceflight is one experience. But to come home amidst warmth and appreciation is an experience of equal magnitude. I shall eternally be grateful for this recognition.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise one more time for 125 years of growth.
What will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, even though we struggle a little bit, I have one thing to tell you. A change is gonna come.
Good evening and welcome to HBCU Delaware Talk. Thank you for allowing we to be in your living room tonight to talk, to discuss a very important matter, and it's really a good topic of conversation, and that's our referendum. Tonight we have two guests that are very known in our community who does an excellent job for us, and I thank you for all that you do in the lives of people. We have Dr. Mark Hollidick from Brandywine School District, our superintendent. We also have Mr. Darrell Green, who is our assistant superintendent. And we just like to talk a little bit about the referendum and how it affects us and how it impacts our community and our schools and our education system. Be mindful that without a referendum passing, there would not be students going to historically black colleges and universities. There would not be students going to predominantly white institutions, simply because we do need resources. And resources are important to bring out the best in our students. And students are first, so we must do whatever we have to do by any means necessary to be successful and to have success across the curriculum, throughout the schools and throughout our state, country. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Hollidick, always a pleasure. Mr. Darrell Green, always a pleasure to talk to you guys, especially when it comes down to education, because you've been in this for a long time. And I know the jobs that you all do, it must be extremely, it's extremely important, but I know it takes a lot out of you time in and time out, especially if you're at these positions where you have to make sure things are in line. I get it. Across the board in our schools, elementary, middle school, and high school. I know curriculum alone is tough, but how do we finance the curriculum? You know what I mean? How do we have the good resources that we need? How do we have facilities? So if you could just touch on that, and then I'm going to ask you a series of questions regarding the referendum. But what is it that you do anyway, Dr. Holliday?
As superintendent?
As superintendent,
Well,
sir. As superintendent.
I oversee 16 schools in our district. We have about 11,000 students, over 1,000 employees, and quite an operation in terms of pre-K through 12 programming and overseeing transportation to and from school, quality education while students are there, ensure their safety from their doorstep through the front of the school and back home, and provide them with opportunities, all students with opportunities that allow for them to ultimately graduate from our high schools and move into a field of study, military, career that they are interested in and that will fulfill them. And I'm fortunate. I work with a lot of great people, one of which is joining me tonight in Darrell Green.
Awesome. Mr. Darrell Green, what is it that you do for the Brandywine School District?
So I work closely with Dr. Hollidick, our school board, and other executive team members, and principals, administrators, students, and families within our diverse community within Brandywine School District. My day-to-day role tends to focus more on the operational sides of things relative to, as Dr. Hollidick indicated, overseeing transportation, facilities, safety and security, really looking at the kind of behind the scenes nuts and bolts operations that most often people don't see, but yet the community has an expectation that things ought to run smoothly to ensure, the safety and well-being of our children and ultimately engage in our community through our Brandywine School District.
And these are the things that are hidden that we don't see, especially as educators. But we're in the trenches, so we're wondering, like, how are we safe? How is this all happening? And sometimes we need the resources, and that goes into the referendum. In fact, what is the referendum? What is the referendum?
Yeah.
I need to know that.
So great question, and I think an appropriate way to sort of launch the conversation around this important topic. A referendum is simply a community's opportunity to vote on whether or not they support an increase in taxes, in this case, for their local school district. So anyone who is 18 years or older who resides within the Brandywine School District has an opportunity on March 23rd to vote in support or in opposition of our referendum. And this is a two-pronged referendum. It's actually an operational as well as a capital referendum. So operational referendum is us as a district asking the community to support a 28 cents increase in local taxes. That's 28 cents on every $100 of assessed home value for property owners in our district, to support all of our programs, all of our staffing, everything and anything that we do as a district to operate, function, and provide a quality education. So soup to nuts, that's transportation, facilities, curriculum and instruction, safety, security, and anything and everything in between. The other piece of the referendum is the capital request. When you pass a capital referendum, the state, which has approved your certificate of necessity for the project, that in this case 4 projects that we're going to complete in the coming years in our district, all of which cost more than $500,000. So can't complete a project in Delaware without going, that's more than $500,000, $500,000, without getting support, 1 from the state of Delaware, and then 2 from your own community to support the capital request. And the good news for the local taxpayer, Steve, is once they support that capital request, the state has already committed to paying for 60% of those capital projects. The community during the referendum is voting to support the other 40%. So bang for your buck, capital referendum is a pretty good deal.
I guess you answered the other question. I was going to ask you, how would the tax money be utilized in our district?
Well, we can go into a lot of detail if you'd like.
Let's do it.
I think it would be appropriate to talk about, let's start, if it's okay with you, with the capital request.
Okay.
We have 4 projects.
So our capital referendum, again, as Dr. Holiday indicated, starts with a process of us identifying projects, facilities type projects, renovations, things that cost more than $500,000. Again, we have to go out to the state and request basically what they call a certificate of necessity. So that's us identifying areas where we need improvements with facilities within the district. We formalize that to the state reviews it, then approves it. So what we've asked for within Brandywine School District for this capital referendum is to look at 4 major projects. The old Burnett School, which is set idle and vacant since 2010, and then working with our city constituents in District 1, which is the area that resides within the city of Wilmington that we serve, also along Market Street and Vanderbilt, which would be District 2, but in particular Burnett School, which would be to raise or to demolish that building, and again work with that community because it's sat idle since 2010, and in essence we're no longer going to use that for schools. We can't even use it for schools anymore. Really? The other important projects would be Claymont Elementary. That building is actually still on old electric heat. So when you look at efficiency from a school level, that building hasn't really received its just due in terms of renovations. So there's some projects within that building, renovations, the classroom, HVAC, types of situations that we're looking to provide there. Brandywine High School, which again is located on Falk Road, which also serves many of our city constituents as well. We're looking at renovations, windows, roofing, things of that nature to continue to provide that necessary support when you look at, not only are we looking at curriculum and instruction, but what's the learning environment consist of? Right. And if you come into bright, vibrant, supportive, well-maintained buildings, it shapes the mindset of the young adults and families who ultimately are engaged within those buildings. And then lastly, we're looking at Carcroft Elementary. And that's more of a safety and security initiative. Within Carcroft, we see what happens across the nation, what happens locally as it requires the safety and security of students. We've created a standard of what we feel a standard of excellence within Brandywine School District to take safety, security, the health and well-being of our students. That's our ultimate #1 priority. As Dr. Holiday alluded to earlier, parents and community members have an expectation. The same way their children leave the house is the same way they want them to come home. So we have to maintain that safety and security, and Carcroft would be a project where we're looking to do some renovations to up the safety and security to the standard that all of the other 14 schools within Brandywine School District are currently at.
Awesome. And I'm curious about the Burnett building. What do you all intend, or what does the district intend to do with the the Burnett building?
So right now, the #1 priority is to bring it down. Again, like we said, that building has sat idle since 2010. We've engaged City Council, we've engaged First District, Harlan Park Civic Association in particular. to really just bring that building down. And then our plans moving forward would be to continue to engage the community in terms of, is it open space, is it community space, because the building actually sits on P.S. DuPont Middle School's footprint. So you can't subdivide that land. One of the things we are investigating is additional athletic field space. Right now, unfortunately, P.S. DuPont is the only middle school or secondary school within Brandywine School District that doesn't have their own baseball field. Okay. So currently we bus the students to Claymont Elementary for home baseball games. Wow. So that's another added expense when you look at transportation costs and things of that nature that we have to travel. So there are a number of options that are on the table, but we will continue to engage and work with the community to ensure that we're maximizing our efforts as they give us their vote of confidence in supporting the referendum come March 23rd, that space is something that, you know, is multifaceted and ultimately supporting the students within the school, but ultimately the community itself can benefit from it.
So basically for the community, the referendum it's a bill. Basically, it's a tax bill, and it's going to tax the property. And sometimes in our community they say, well, we don't have any money, how are we going to pay bills? And now they're going to give us another tax hike. How do we convince the community that this is for the good of our youth? Because sometimes, regardless of what we say, that fixed mindset says, I'm not going for it. You know.
Steve, I choose instead to look at it as a quote-unquote bill, and in this case, I live in the district, so this referendum, this tax increase is indeed going to affect me and many of my friends and family. I think we've put ourselves in a really good position as a district, going out to our community as we are on this show and in many, many meetings. Because when we went out to referendum 4 years ago, we created, following the passage of that referendum, a referendum oversight committee that met quarterly and vetted the progress we were making on the commitments that we made during that referendum campaign. And we delivered on all of them. Awesome. So one, we have a report to say, we promised you this and we delivered on it. This time around, we are saying we are going to do X, Y, and Z, not only with facilities, but with programming, and continuing the efforts to build upon the quality programs we have. So I think we're in a really, really good position. But rather than calling it a bill, I look at it as an investment. It's an investment not only in our children, but it's an investment in our schools and our community as a whole. I think as community members visit our schools, whether it's to see their children, whether it's to see grandchildren or friends, whether it's just to go to a ball game, maybe it's something unaffiliated with the district, maybe it's a community league. When they come onto our property, they have an expectation in Brandywine that our facilities, as Darrell alluded to earlier, they expect to see beautiful, well-maintained facilities that are attractive, appealing, and that they can be proud of. Sure. So whether you're in the city, on the space of Harlan or P.S. DuPont, or whether you're in the suburbs driving past Springer Middle School or Brandywine High School or Concord High School, Tally Middle, Lombardi Elementary, you want to drive by day or night and see a facility that makes you proud. That's attractive. That'll be attractive, mind you, to young families who may want to move into the Brandywine School District. Again, whether it's in our catch feeder pattern in Wilmington or in the suburbs, we want facilities, programs supported by quality staff that people have confidence in and can be proud of.
Awesome. So you see, community, it's not a bill.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. I understand that, because every now and again, every time we have to pay, we feel like we're paying a bill. Indeed. So it's an investment for your children, and it's an investment for the district. Absolutely. Advantages. Okay. You said some of the advantages for the referendum, in our community, and especially with the baseball field. I like that idea, simply because what it's going to do is going to attract more people going down 95. Because you can actually see PS coming down 95. And it's going to attract more inner city parents that go to PS or go to the schools in the district. Because a lot of times if PS plays at Tally, some of the parents are not going to bring their kids. If there's a track and field event at Tally, some kids, and it's against PS or some of the other schools, some of the parents are not going to come. But if you have the baseball field there, then you have a track at PS, it's attracting more people within the community. You would be surprised how many community folk come out. And then even to go even more, it even brings more business to the areas around it, like some of the stores. You know, because people are going to stop, they're going to be hungry, and they're going to stop by the stores and eat. So they're going to pay money. So I think it's effective. Now, on the other hand, are there any disadvantages
To a referendum?
to a referendum?
Well, the process itself is challenging. I mean, Darrell and I and a number of other district personnel, board members, community members are spending a lot of time, day and particularly at night, campaigning and communicating for this referendum. So, truth be told, you know, when you're in a referendum campaign, from when the board takes action to go to referendum, which in our case was in December at our board meeting, until March 23rd, it's all hands on deck. This is your job. So it's a challenge, quite frankly, to be strong educational leaders when your focus is on a referendum. It's very political, Steve. So it's a lot of work. With that said, it's a process that does protect the taxpayer. And a lot of people don't realize it's not the same from state to state. As close as we are to Pennsylvania, when their board members in PA across the line at districts such as Pendelco or Garnet Valley or Kennett Square, those board members are elected with the authority to levy increased taxes.
Sure.
Boards in Delaware are not. They are elected with the authority to recommend a tax increase, only to occur if it's supported by the community. So it's different, and so the taxpayer has a say during the referendum. In other states, the say is when they vote for school board members. So there are pros and cons to both. In our case, in Delaware, I think the con is you have the potential to fail a referendum, and then you have to deal with the fallout, and that usually includes scaling back, if not cutting, programs and personnel. And that is the worst part of the job, which is why Darrell and I and many others are out pushing the referendum, because we don't want to deal with what happens when a referendum does not pass.
And just to add to that, I think the other thing regarding it is messaging.
Sure.
And ultimately, sometimes the community members don't really fully understand or know, you know, ultimately what their tax dollars pay for. So even with it being a messaging or a lack of information, it also gives us an opportunity as an advantage, to go back to the advantage of really communicating all the things that their current tax dollars are paying for. You know, we spoke to the capital aspect of things, which are facilities, and we don't want to mislead people to think that we're building new schools, because we're not. You know, we have, as Dr. Holodeck alluded to, a referendum oversight committee that held us accountable as district employees to honor what we said we were going out for the previous referendum. We also have a maintenance oversight committee who ultimately looks at projects, and that's a committee made up of community members who are engaged, who have the voice of the board as well as the community to help us make informed decisions. So the advantage is this engages the community. It also lets them know where their tax dollars are going. It lets us highlight and show our family members who may not oftentimes see the programs that their students are benefiting from, our children are benefiting from, which would be the other side of the referendum, which would be the operational side of the referendum that deals with curriculum and instruction, programs such as AVID, which is a via individual determination, equity initiatives. You know, this being Black History Month, there are a number of things that we're doing to support programs and provide avenues for students that taxpayers' dollars are ultimately supporting. So it helps give a well-rounded, balanced education and top-notch facilities. So while there may be some disadvantages in the process and the time that we have to spend in doing it, ultimately, as Dr. Holodeck and you indicated, it pays off in the investment in the long run when we have students who are going to HBCUs or going right into the workforce or military. So they're grounded and prepared to whether it's college or career ready once they exit school.
I find it interesting simply because in the community today, there's a fixed mindset there's displaced anger. There's a reactive community simply because sometimes within our city government, and this has nothing to do with schools, sometimes they find out information thereafter instead of prior to. So what I can appreciate is that you're giving the information prior to this happening instead of thereafter. And then people, when they have more knowledge of what's going on, they're more apt, or they tend to say, okay, I'll take it and I'll go with it. Because one thing I tell you about looking at the tax hike or anything, you know, we tend to be uncomfortable with it in the beginning, but then we become comfortable with it, you know, and then it's like, okay, it's nothing. But the whole time, it's just a challenge, and it's just an obstacle put before us, you know, so that we can be successful, so our kids can be successful, so our schools can be successful, period. Regarding how much is a property tax increase? Did you cover that? Did you say that already?
I mentioned that it's 28 cents.
28 cents, okay.
Increase, and so, you know, I think many people just don't quite understand how it all works and what it means. So here are a couple of important points. The 28 cents is 28 cents increase, local tax increase on every $100 of assessed home value. Important for people to understand that your assessed value, the assessed value of your home, is significantly different, lower than the actual value of your home. So here's the easy way to determine what it means for you as a local taxpayer, someone residing in Brandywine. On our district website, we have a referendum link. On that link, you can easily determine very quickly what the tax increase is for your exact home. So what it means for you personally, you put in your address, the 28 cents is already loaded in to the calculator, you push the button, and lo and behold, there's your local tax increase. So yeah, we want to be as transparent as possible, and more than anything, Steve, we want informed voters.
Sure.
I think the majority of people, once they know and understand what this referendum is about and what it means to kids, families, and the community as a whole, they get behind it. I do agree with you. I think at first, the mention of increasing taxes, in particular for those who are on fixed incomes, maybe retirees, it's an ask. We're asking them to support us. And so we're obligated to ensure they know what it's all about, and at the end of the day, if they vote in support or not in support of, the key is that they're informed. And I think when they're informed, we get a whole lot more support.
So, speaking of the fixed income, for those that are on a fixed income, there's no way within the referendum where they would pay lower than people who are working?
They actually do.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not a formula, but rather if you're a retiree,
Sure.
You know, over a particular age, you do get a tax break. And that's also information that can be found on our website. So
Awesome.
So there are some advantages, and that's something that comes from the state of Delaware. So that's statewide, which, you know, is, I think, a good thing for the people who are on a fixed income and may not have the opportunity to increase their income over the coming years. Yep.
That website is www.brandywineschools.org. And again, that's www.brandywineschools.org.
Awesome. At this time, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back to you with more of the referendum, because this is a very good topic, and I think the community really does need to know more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show, and thank you for tuning in and allowing us to be in your living room to talk about the referendum, such an important topic. For this segment, I'd like to go into talking about the operations and how would the referendum be utilized as far as some of our programs, such as the AVID program, such as the IB program, such as AP, and how does this all tie in? I'm sure some of the AVID teachers are very concerned regarding funding for AVID, because a lot of kids that are in the AVID, they're first generation kids to go to college. And I'm sure that they may need more resources for AVID. And then, and the mindset is that IB kids are already going on the scholarships, and a lot of their parents already go to college. So how does the referendum affect our programs as far as the AVID program?
Okay, so important to note, Steve, the 28 cents, the amount that we are requesting, was not determined by the Board of Education or by myself or Darrell or our Chief Financial Officer, but rather a District Finance Committee. The DFC meets monthly. This is a group of local stakeholders, people that are not employees of the district. They have a background in finance. They meet monthly. They review our finances, our books, so to speak. They make recommendations to the board. And around this time last year, they made a very strong recommendation to our board that we got for a referendum, no less than 28 cents, because they believe, looking at data and financial reports, that this referendum, when we pass it, will last a minimum of 3 years, hopefully 4 years. It allows for us to continue operating at the level we currently are, offering the quality programs we have. So there's a bit of a difference between our last referendum and this one. Last referendum, 4 years ago, we actually added some programs, some of which you mentioned. This referendum is about continuing those programs, advancing them, building upon them. So AVID, I think, is a great example. There was a time when we only had AVID at Mount Pleasant High School, and then it spread to Brandywine. We invested in Concord, and now it's in all of our secondary schools, and it is yielding great results. So that's a program that is supported through a lot of local dollars, but as you mentioned, allows for first-generation college-bound students to have the support and the wherewithal to get there. It's very important. It supports things such as the Achievers Academy, which has some similarities. It's not the same as, but some similarities as AVID, and you're familiar with that program. It supports a new initiative that we've been working on for the last 18 months or so called the AP, Advanced Placement Capstone program that we are looking to implement next year at both Brandywine High School and Concord High School. It builds upon our IB program that we have at Tally Middle School that you're very familiar with, as well as Mount Pleasant High School. So the list literally goes on and on. We're talking about supports for the arts and music, programs, curriculum that meets the needs of an incredibly diverse population of students and families. I mean, Brandywine, like many Newcastle, if not all of the Newcastle County districts, our district is unique in that we have an incredibly diverse population. We have children who come in and are very well prepared and ready to learn. The other end of the spectrum, we have some kids who come in with significant needs and disadvantages. And it's our job to ensure that all of those needs for all of those students on the bookends and every student in between, that their needs are met and that we're doing everything we can to allow for them to reach their full potential.
Awesome. What do you want to add to it?
Yeah, just, I mean, you know, it goes back to that whole child.
Sure.
And it works on things operational, such as nursing staff, social workers, individuals who we have who support children. We have programs such as alternative to suspension programs, where, you know, a lot of our children, unfortunately, aren't always prepared or come and sometimes may have disciplinary issues. You know, we run and sponsor a program that avoids suspending them out of school in many instances and gives them an opportunity to be restorative and get support to keep suspensions off their records. So there are a number of innovative things that we try to do, strings programs at the elementary level. You know, Dr. Holodeck mentioned our Achievers Academy. You know, currently we're serving over 300 students who would also be first-time college goers that may come from disadvantaged backgrounds or lack support at home. Right. That program has a 100% graduation rate. And upwards of 97 to 98% of the students go to college or military. So, you know, there are things such as that really give us the opportunity to support all of the children who come within our schools, but more importantly, families. You know, when we look at, you know, that single mom who may need that additional support with her teenage son. Sure. You know, the schools are so diverse in what our responsibilities are nowadays that the public schools take on more. We need that public to continue to support the communities that we serve. And going out the referendum allows us to continue to do so.
Awesome. Speaking of innovation, technology pieces that we have, how do we incorporate the curriculum within this piece of technology where we can utilize them more in the classroom? Because believe it or not, some teachers are afraid of this. Some of them are really concerned about the students using the iPads because of they may not stay on task, but I believe that they will. Some of our kids that have some of the learning disabilities, they do well with these. How do we incorporate some of our curriculum where it'll be easy accessible? Because sometimes kids, they're looking at the board and they're trying to write and they just don't write well, and it's hard to teach writing after a certain age. You know, it's like they're not going to ever write well or where you can or legible where you can understand it. So sometimes they may be pretty good on a keyboard. Is that?
Yeah, there is a well-articulated plan in place, and it can also be found on our website. Okay. It's embedded in actually two documents. One is our district strategic plan, sure, and our technology approach and package that's tied into our what's called blended learning, personalized learning plan. So we're one of originally 4 districts that came together. Those 4 districts included us, the Colonial School District, Newcastle County VOTEC, and all the way at the other end of the state, Indian River. Four school districts came together to create a consortium called BRINC, the acronym coming off of the district names involved. And it's a very calculated, well-developed plan and approach to ensuring not only do we have, you know, the appropriate technology in our classrooms, but support for teachers to utilize that technology and allow for students to move at a pace that is appropriate for them. It's not just a matter of giving a teacher a set of iPads and saying, you know, go to work. It's overwhelming. And actually, one could argue with that approach, you could actually see a dip in instruction and student achievement. So when you have a quality plan in place, as we do, and a number of other districts have recently joined this consortium, the planning and the support, the professional development for not only the teachers but administrators who can then support those teachers, those lead teachers that serve as models for others within their school. We're in a really good place right now. When this referendum passes, we will be able to build upon that current plan. And it's essential, because if the referendum, gosh forbid, did not pass, we would not have the wherewithal to continue at the current pace that we've had in the last 4 years.
And I have 3 children. I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old. They're born with it.
Yeah.
So when we think about it, whether it's an iPhone, a tablet, I mean, my 5-year-old can crack a code and go into our phones, and and when you talk about learning styles, so it's something that they're born with. So it behooves us within our educational system to adapt and adopt technology within the classroom, and train, whether it's veteran staff, and a lot of our newer teachers are learning to advance technology, because that's how they're being trained, to prepare for that 21st century and beyond learner. So technology is critical, it's instrumental in engaging and keeping students' attention, but also allowing our teachers to elevate their teaching, and it shrinks the world, where you can use technology to, use current events and different things to broaden students' knowledge base who may not come to school with certain background knowledge. If technology is accessible, it allows us to engage them in such a way that they don't tune it out before they even have the opportunity to learn it. So, we can call them screenagers, because they'll go from an iPhone to a tablet. They're born with it. So again, for us as an educational institution, serving such a diverse population, it's critical that we leverage technology in the way that Dr. Holodeck was discussing, to not only support the staff members who are teaching, but to continue to engage the students who, again, know nothing otherwise because they've been born with it.
Our technology, our STEM program, our technology program, the teacher, she used the iPad, and they were having like robots going up and down the hall. I'm like,
well, not only that, I was actually in your school, Tally Middle School, a couple weeks ago, and watching students who were actually either preparing or performing for a talent show. And they were doing a dance routine, and they were actually using technology to make themselves like glow, and it was amazing to see how they were leveraging the technology. A science, technology, and engineering math teacher was actually supporting students in their development of a dance routine to enhance their performance, and that's engaging for children. I mean, that's innovative, that's creative. Those are a number of ways that, when we do support this referendum, so that we can continue to advance those programs that will allow us to position our students to be ready to go out to whatever, if they're going to the arts or if they're going to the workforce or college, they're prepared.
And they can actually visit the colleges from right there in the classroom.
Yes, they can. Take a virtual tour.
Virtual tour. Community, we need you. We really need you to support the referendum. We would like for you to just understand more about it and get you involved with it. Because if you're involved, we win, everyone wins. So it's about community. And we need our kids, because in our community, there's a lot of kids dying because they bored with education. They are not reading. We learn to read from K through 3, but then after 3rd grade, we read to learn for the rest of our lives. And if we have kids that are not reading because their lack of, it's not helping our community. So we definitely need to support the referendum so we can get a lot more resources that's going to help us, to help you, to help me, because I need a job too. So I think this referendum is a very good idea. I think that it will work. I'm pretty much sure that it's going to pass. I'm going to claim it. I'm going to claim it right now that it will pass. Any other ideas with the referendum? Anything else that you could tell me more about the referendum or the community so that they know more? I think you probably touched on everything right now, where some of the parents are convinced, but is there anything else?
Sure. Yeah, I do think we've covered an awful lot. There is a sort of a third prong, if you would, to this referendum that people should be aware of. There is a group in our community that feels strongly that each of our high schools should have 2 turf fields. Steve, as you're aware, we share our space in Brandywine with our community. whether it be our stadiums at our high schools, the rest of the fields at our high schools, middle schools, and even elementary schools. We share that space with a lot of community groups. An example that comes to mind, Lombardi Elementary School, St. Mary Magdalene's football program runs basically out of Lombardi. Immaculate Heart of Mary, IHM, that's another parochial school that uses a lot of our space. We have the Concord Soccer Association, the Brandywine Warriors, and many other groups that use our fields. And that's a good thing because ultimately the majority of those kids are either in our schools or coming into our schools. So it's good for community. The challenge is keeping those fields in quality playing condition, right? So recognizing that we're a condensed community and that those fields are getting a lot of play, the idea from this community group is that we would put 2 turf fields over the course of 3 years at all of our 3 high schools, each of our 3 high schools, that could be used by a multitude of different sports, football, soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, and so on. And that those fields would also be shared with our community groups. So to no surprise, when we had our board meeting in December, those community groups, a number of the presidents, vice presidents and such from those respective groups came out and voiced their support for the referendum. And it was nice to hear. Even an additional example is a number of people from the music world, band directors came out and said, you know, our kids practice in parking lots, and in the summer during band camp, you're on asphalt. We can't be on you know, the stadium for a number of reasons. One, it's not lined yet. 2, it can get worn out. If we have a turf field, it allows for us to practice, perform there. It also allows for the 3 high school bands to have band competitions at their home site as fundraisers. Sure. So this was all articulated at the board meeting. So that's a third prong to the referendum that I think our local taxpayer and community members should be aware of. And it's I believe, a very good thing for our district and community.
Awesome. That can also bring the college bands to the turf, because you know college bands, they like the artificial turf. By the way, that is what we're talking about, artificial turf. And regarding to bringing the community, and I look at Tally, and when I'm at work, as soon as I pull up, it's parents that walking the track.
Yeah.
So I like the community relationship, and that's what it really is all about. It's about community. It's about coming to meetings, board meetings. In the community, we have to come to the meetings so you would know, so you can get the information. If you don't, I mean, like, we're reaching out to you. We need for you to come on in, you know. So that's where I'm at with the referendum.
Thank you, Steve.
I appreciate you all so much. I understand that Brandywine has a very good arts program, a dance program. And I was just thinking, you know, a couple of teachers and I, we were just talking, and they always talk about Cab Calloway in another district, about their how hard it is to get into their music program. Well, for those kids that are not in the, or haven't been accepted, you know, Brandywine is big. We have a very, very good arts program at Brandywine High School. And that's going to draw people, especially with artificial turf fields. So I can see all of this coming together. And eventually, I think it's good for the district. I think it's good for us.
And again, that starts at our elementary level. Sure. You know, whether it's the strings program, band, instrumental music, choral programs. We have annual art shows where our students are producing amazing artwork through our art program, working with Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, who oversees the arts in our district. And then just as he said, Dr. Hollick alluded to, you know, sports and different athletic programs and activities, that draws community.
Yeah.
That brings in community, you know, to be able to enhance a lacrosse program. So I'd actually want to give a shout out to Hampton University, who actually, February 13th, you know, when we focus on HBCUs, actually had the first all-black Division I lacrosse team.
Wow.
So when we talk about equity, and that's exposing students who may come from our city demographic, who may not be exposed to a sport.
Sure.
Because traditionally, it costs a lot of money to run those sports, but to see our HBCUs now gravitating to that, and for us as a school district to be able to parlay that using turf fields and enhancing our athletic programs, again, is something that we are focusing on, we're keen to really look at, and I think it's another reason why we would ask our community to come out to support the referendum.
I appreciate it. So there you have it, Hampton. We shouted out to Hampton, you know, Hampton and Norfolk State. Hampton and Norfolk State's rival.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, when we speak of Hampton, they're #1 in the MEAC, and MEAC is Mid-East Athletic Conference. Norfolk State's #2 right now. The MEAC tournament will be coming up in March. So we'll see how that goes. By the way, Norfolk State versus Delaware State this Saturday in Dover, February 20th. Here's a mixer, a meet and greet at the Applebee's down Dover, right across from Delaware State University. I don't know the address, but it's going to start at 12 o'clock until 4. And this should be a good time and to bring in kids from Delaware, from up here, from the north, to go down just to see what the HBCU basketball game is, just to see what it's like. In fact, we have a very good student that played football for Concord. Bryson. What's Bryce's last name?
Bryson Lean.
And he's doing very well at Delaware State, so I'm proud of him. In fact, I have some footage on my on my iPad, so I tend to take footage when I go out to the games to bring it back and promote the HBCUs, promote the school district, trying to build a relationship with more of our school district, because we have only one HBCU in Delaware, and that's Delaware State University. And I like to see more of us work together to support one another. And sometimes we tend to support our own colleges, like Norfolk State University alumni, support that. But with the HBCU, we can support all colleges and support all kids, because, again, every kid can learn and every kid should go to college. I mean, I'm sure some people say college is not for everyone. College is for everyone, because if education be the field that makes all other fields possible, it's definitely for everyone. I'm finished as far as the referendum's concerned. Running out of things to say, so can you please give me Brandywine School District's website again, so parents could look into that and talk and find out more about the referendum, find out more of what Brandywine School District has to offer?
It's www.brandywineschools.org. Again, www.brandywineschools.org.
Okay. And Dr. Holiday, I thank you for all that you do in the lives of people. You're that smooth guy. Dr. Holiday just comes in and like, how you doing? You know, the little guy come in and tell everybody, well, that's all right, that's an awesome job. Let me ask you something. You're from the Brandywine School District.
I am. I graduated from Concord High School. We're not going to say the year, but I'm a product of the district, and having grown up here, I have a great deal of pride in the community and know a lot of our families very well. So, and of course, my 3 children are in the district. In fact, I'm proud to say my oldest visited Ohio State. As a family, we went out, took a look at Ohio State University. She's very much interested in being in the best darn band in the land at Ohio State. So, yeah, I am invested in this district, and I know Darrell and many others in the district are. I mean, I think that's the beauty of Brandywine, is that so many of our staff are either products of, have children in, grandchildren in the district, or live in the district. So, yeah, in sort of closing, I think we have a real opportunity with this referendum, with that kind of community commitment and support. We have an opportunity on March 23rd to really set the table for the next 3 to 5 years in Brandywine.
So, with that being said, get out and vote. We need you to vote. In fact, speaking of Brandywine School, my kids are in the Brandywine School District, and I am totally pleased. You know, they're over at Mount Pleasant Elementary School. Sabrina's doing well. Stephen's doing well.
I see you in the car line from time to time.
Oh, well, no. Actually, my wife is.
Okay.
I drop off, she picks up.
Yeah.
But now she's going to coach track, so all that's going to change. So I'll be in the car. I was in the car line today, by the way.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you. I thank you for all that you do in the lives of people.
Thank you.
And let's go. We have to push the referendum. Push it. Thank you. Have a good evening.